The pen scraped across the page with a heaviness that felt more like a judgment than a signature. I didn't react. No questions. No hesitation. I simply slid the documents back to her and looked into her eyes. Just once. That was enough. I rose from my seat, the chair dragging loudly in the thick silence between us. She smiled, not warmly, but with something sharp and cruel, a smug twist of her lips that burned itself into my memory more deeply than any farewell ever could. When I stepped outside and closed the door behind me, it wasn't just a house I was leaving. I walked away from the image she held of me, a man she believed could be discarded without consequence. The truck rumbled to life beneath me. In the rearview mirror, she stood on the porch, arms crossed, laughing, a brittle, cutting sound that cracked through the cold air like shattered glass. I kept driving, kept going until the streets blurred and the familiar turned strange, melting into the unknown. I never looked back. 5 years. That's how long I broke my back juggling double shifts, sacrificing weekends, chasing every hour I could, just so she could pursue the dream we once shared. Nursing school, classes, clinical rotations, exams. I was the one brewing coffee at midnight, holding her through meltdowns, telling her she was capable when her confidence broke. In the end, I was nothing more than a stepping stone. And when she made it to the top, she didn't even glance down before kicking it away. I vanished, changed my name, cashed out everything, handed over the keys to a home I had poured every part of myself into. The day the last payment cleared, I erased every trace of me. Years passed. I kept to myself. Started over from zero in a quiet town where no one asked about my past. I rebuilt, stronger in body and mind. I learned, worked, grew. In silence, I watched her shine through curated screens. New cars, lavish vacations, hollow smiles, a carefully staged life. She had a new man on her arm within 6 months. I said nothing. I waited. 10 years later, the silence cracked. A familiar number lit up my phone. Straight to voicemail. Then again, and again. When I finally silenced the ringer, the screen showed 169 missed calls. I didn't need to hear the voicemails to recognize the sound of desperation. Panic, regret, fear. Somehow, she had found me. That night, I sat beside the window with a glass of whiskey, watching the stars fade behind drifting clouds. I thought about returning her call. I didn't. Not yet. This wasn't going to be sentimental. It would be surgical. Clean. Exact. The next morning, I opened my laptop and began unraveling the threads of her new life, one by one. It didn't take much effort. Her husband, a mortgage broker with shaky morals. Their home, an oversized shell they couldn't afford. Her job, at a respected hospital with ties to powerful donors she seemed a little too close with. I was methodical, patient. For 6 months, I moved silently. Anonymous tips to the IRS about suspicious financial dealings. Quiet messages to the hospital board regarding her personal connections to certain pharmaceutical reps. A private investigator for those late-night meetings that didn't end in offices. Each step deliberate. Every domino placed with care. Then I struck. The hospital launched an internal probe. The IRS froze their assets. Her husband's firm let him go without fanfare. No dramatic explosions, just a slow, quiet collapse. Late payments sparked whispers. Social invitations stopped coming. The life she constructed began to fray at the seams. And I watched until she called again. This time I answered. At first, nothing, just silence. Then the soft intake of breath. Her voice was fragile, unsteady. "Please," she said, I just need to talk to you." I leaned back in my chair, eyes drifting toward the skyline. "Talk." "I made a mistake," she said, her voice cracking. "I see that now. I was so blind. I didn't know what I had until it was gone." I let the silence stretch long enough to sting. "I miss you," she whispered. "God, I miss you. Please, just let me see you. Please." I pictured her amid the ruins of the life she'd so carefully curated, surrounded by the consequences of her own decisions. My voice came out low and cold. "You don't miss me," I said. You missed the man who would have carried you through this. He's gone. You destroyed him. Her sob cracked through the line, raw and jagged. But it didn't move me. It couldn't. I hung up. There would be no redemption. No second chance. No do-over. I stood at the window, the city lights blurring through the mist of unshed tears. I no longer felt. Only stillness remained. Cold, final peace. She kept calling, over and over. I never picked up. I let her drown in the same silence she once left me in. Behind me, her world turned to ash, and I stood on the other side of the fire, untouched and, at last, free.